this is Breezy. Let me level with you here. I've been working on this game for over a year at this point, and I'm getting ready to be done with it. In the last few videos, we've added a city, literal teleportation, and a giant boss to this game. How can we top that, you ask? Well, how about a dance party? Okay, it may not be as impressive as those other things, but I think I've earned a little celebration. So in this devlog, we'll go over how I added a disco course to my game, and we'll also talk about some other changes I've made, and my future plans. Let's get started. So you may have actually seen the disco course already, twice in fact. I posted 2 GIFs of it on GameJolt, and I showed one of those GIFs in my last video. Let's dissect every part of what we can see in that GIF. First of all, the ground. It's a dance floor with a purple and pink checkerboard pattern. It's also slightly transparent, which you can tell based on the arrow being partly obscured by it. The sky is a similar pink color. Next, those black and green squares. These are called dash panels, and they're the main mechanic of the disco course. Touching a dash panel propels the ball in the direction the arrows are pointing, and turns the trail of the ball green, as you can see in this clip. When the ball's trail is green, pressing the button to hit the ball again in midair will perform a ground pound. Here's the catch though. A ground pound will always result in the ball stopping, unless it's onto another dash panel. This mechanic of chaining dashes and ground pounds is what makes up the gameplay of the disco course. I actually programmed the speed of the dash to be dynamic, based on the tempo of the song that's currently playing. This actually allows the beat of the music to be a guide to time your ground pounds correctly. It also introduces a bit of natural leniency into the mechanic, since you can land anywhere on the panel, you don't have to time your inputs perfectly. This also reduces concerns about accessibility. Even if you can't hear the audio, you can still have a chant. These TV screens similarly improve accessibility. They may seem random, but these TV screens were actually in my original vision for the disco core. At first, I wanted them to just display static or random visuals. Once I made the dash panels though, I had the idea of making the screens light up on the beats where you're supposed to ground pound. Now when you hit a successful chain of ground pounds, it looks like this. The last course element to discuss is this disco ball. You'll notice that it always hangs over the flag, and these spinning lights serve to draw attention to your target. I had a pretty neat idea for the string holding it up. I made a line renderer that gradually goes from white to transparent as it extends upward, creating the illusion of a string that extends up into the sky forever. Pretty neat. Since this course is so music-centric, I had to spend plenty of time on the song. I did something different from normal this time. I actually made the first draft of the song in GarageBand. Well, that's sort of accurate. I made the first draft 2 years ago in a jam game called Insane. This version is very different from, and a lot shorter than, the song you'll hear in Breezy. The next draft that I made more recently in GarageBand is longer, more complex, and more emotional, to fit with the theme of the second to last course in the game. A revised version of that draft is also in the game as an unlockable song called Disco Course Neo, but the real version of the song was made in OpenMPT as with the rest of the course song. I actually made most of the samples in this song myself using a synthesizer called Table Warp 2. Take a listen. I'll post both of the new songs soon. In terms of course elements, I introduced some new mechanics to the disco course later on. There are these panels with concentric circles on them that shoot the player upwards rather than sideways. I use these for longer beats or pauses in the music. Finally, there are spinning dash panels that shoot the ball in a different direction depending on the beat. This introduces even more strategy into the system of timing your hits correctly. The last few levels use all of these elements together, and trust me, it gets hectic quickly. It's important to keep your cool on the dance floor. I recently went back and touched up the first course in the game, the grass course. Compared to the pretty ice course and colorful city course, the grass doesn't make the best first impression. I want the players to be wowed from the first second of gameplay, so I decided to add some decorations to the grass course. I hopped into Blender to model some cracked brick walls. These add a pop of color to the otherwise drab landscape, and make for some more natural barriers and weird grass walls. I also created some butterflies that fly around and stop to perch on various surfaces. With all of these additions, the grass course is suddenly one of the best looking and most animated worlds in the game. Definitely worth the effort. I also decided to do some work on the game's title screen. Even now, a year into the game's development, it still lacks features, with some functions locked behind cheat codes. It also has this ugly quit button. I decided to fix these issues by adding a discrete submenu at the top of the screen. Pressing the rewind button at the title screen will let you peruse these options, which consist of quitting the game, listening to the game's music, viewing the game's cutscenes, viewing your unlockables and statistics, and reading important copyright and privacy information. Now, I still haven't actually added these features yet, but I have mapped some of the cheat codes to the top menu menu, and they work just fine. I also added some new music to the title screen. The title theme was probably my least favorite song in the game, and it was the only song in the game made in LMMS, which I don't use for music composition anymore. These weren't the main reasons I wanted to change the title theme, however. I actually had an idea inspired by the menu theme of Mario Kart Wii. In that game, whenever you select the game mode, kart, or character, and the menu moves to the next screen, the song gets a little more complex. This is a tactic used in lots of games, from Yoshi's Island to Undertale, and I wanted to do it a little differently in Breezy. Instead of progressing the title theme, I want to have different instrumentations of it for each area in the title screen. Here's what each of the sections sound like. So that's most of the work I've done on Breezy lately. Sorry that this devlog took so long to make. I've been on vacation this past week. I'm back now though, and it's time to talk about future plans. I've already started work on Breezy's last course, the Volcano course. As usual, I'll post any updates on GameJolt where you can follow Breezy's development. In the next few devlogs, I'll talk about the Volcano world along with new developments in gameplay and UI. Until then, have a good day.